Miami Marlins shortstop Tim Anderson has played almost 1,000 Major League Baseball games in his career, and for a large portion of that, he was a great player and known as one of the most likable players in baseball. From 2019 to 2022, he was a top shortstop for the White Sox, always being reliable both on offense and defense. He was an All-Star in 2021 and 2022, received MVP votes in COVID-shortened 2020 season, and won the Silver Slugger Award in 2020 as well. He was doing great and was always a recognizable player on a White Sox team that wasn't always the best a lot of the time. But with that said, it's well known now that he's not the player he once was and has had quite the fall off from his prime. So what happened to him? Right at the start of the 2023 season, really only a couple of weeks in, Anderson sustained an injury to his left knee. It kept him out for a significant portion of the season as he was only able to appear in about 3/4 of the games. Definitely not season ending by any means, but Anderson has said himself that it messed with his swing. Coming back from injury forced him to change his front leg mechanics somewhat, and any small change could lead to big changes in terms of results. The way he would plant his leg after a stride was all different, and it's entirely possible that this led to more whiffs, rollover ground balls, and pop-ups, all things you don't really want to have as a hitter. Now that I have identified a likely explanation for why it is that Tim Anderson had a horrible 2023 season, let's have a look at the advanced numbers to see just what his new swing led to in terms of different numbers and different results. What I think is the most important result of that knee injury I was talking about earlier was in Anderson's power ability. In 524 plate appearances, primarily at the top of the White Sox lineup, he hit just one home run all season long. Overall, he had a feeble amount of extra base hits at 21, 18 doubles, 2 triples, and that one home run. In the 2020 pandemic season, he had more extra base hits and more than 300 less plate appearances. Tim Anderson's power had completely vanished. His .296 slugging percentage was the worst of all qualified players in baseball for the 2023 season. He was one of just 2 players to post a value below 300. The primary reason for this happening, in my opinion, is in his high ground ball rates. His 61.1% ground ball rate last year was 6% higher than his previous highest seasonal rate. Like with slugging percentage, he unfortunately led the league in highest ground ball rate. Combined with noticeable changes in his exit velocity and pop-up rate, this made for abysmal power numbers. He was never one of the game's great power threats, but there's a difference in having just okay power numbers and downright awful like he did in 2023. Anderson was also never really a player who liked to walk, and he actually walked at a higher rate than normal in 2023. Trouble was, his batting average wasn't great, so his on-base percentage wasn't either by default. His .286 OBP was 4th worst in the league last year. So after that catastrophe of a season, it was definitely time for a change of scenery. On February 24th, 2024, he signed a 1-year, $5 million contract in Miami with the Marlins, who were coming off their best season in years. However, even with the new team and different fans at his back, Anderson has somehow been even worse to start this season. 164 plate appearances into the year, and he is sporting -1 Fangraphs wins above replacement. He is unquestionably one of the worst players in baseball, and he's going to turn 31 in a few weeks, so he's only getting older. His age has already been showing at shortstop for a couple years, and especially this year. He already has -3 outs above average at the position defensively, his worst mark since 2017, and it's barely June. His StatCast numbers are by far the worst of his career, and on average he hits the ball 85.5 miles per hour off the bat, his worst stat since 2017 when he was 23 and fresh in the league in his second year. His average launch angle this season is .8, which is easily the lowest in Major League Baseball. Since his exit velocity really isn't that great, this leads to a lot of easy ground balls for infielders, and he's hitting these ground balls close to 2/3 of the time this year at 65% ground ball rate, which is terrible. He's not leaving any room for line drives or fly balls, which statistically are a lot more likely to generate runs than ground balls are. Tim Anderson had a rough 2023 season and is having a rough 2024 season so far. If he keeps playing like this, I really don't know if he'll get another chance next year in the major leagues, even on bad teams like the Rockies or the Angels. His fall off has been pretty hard to watch, and I really hope he can get it together because time is running out.